Have you ever felt like you always fell behind your peers in terms of studying or learning something, even though you put twice the effort? Have you ever been fed up that no matter how much time you cram, you still can't remember things even after putting in so many hours of work? It's not because you lack intelligence, it's because you're learning things the wrong way. In this video, I'm gonna show you Andrew Huberman's science-based hacks that will boost your memory and help you learn things much faster. Let's start off with the most basic form of improving memory, which will be explained with the help of an experiment by Hermann Ebbinghaus, a German psychologist renowned for his pioneering work in the field of memory. In his experiment, he made a list of nonsense syllables, which are a combination of letters that did not form any meaningful words. He then studied these lists until he could remember them perfectly, and would systematically test his ability to recall the memory at various intervals. He kept track of how many syllables he could recall correctly each time. This helped him discover the existence of what is now known as memory retention curve. This curve illustrates the relation between time and memory retention, showing that information is rapidly forgotten shortly after learning. If we learn something new, but then make no attempt to relearn that information, we remember less and less of it as hours, days, and weeks go by. This is why you need to adopt an evidence-based learning technique like spaced repetition. It's a technique that involves in reviewing information at increasing intervals over time, instead of cramming information all at once. Spaced repetition distributes study sessions over time, allowing the brain to retain the information much better. Now, how to remember more things with the least repetition required. It will be explained through the help of an experiment by James McGaw and Larry Cahill, where they establish what's required to get better at remembering things and to do so very quickly. This experiment is divided between two groups of people. The first one read a short paragraph of about 12 sentences of mundane and not very interesting information, and the other group also read a short paragraph of about 12 sentences, but the difference was that this one had sentences that had a lot of emotionally intense language, or had a language that could evoke an emotionally intense response in the person reading it. After that, the subjects left the lab, and after a while was called back to the lab, and they all got a pop quiz. They were asked to recall the content of the paragraph that they previously read. Now, a disclaimer here. These groups of people did not know they were part of a memory experiment. The result was that the subjects that read the emotionally intense paragraph remembered far more of the content and were far more accurate in remembering that information than the other group. This concluded that emotionally intense events are remembered far more accurately than non-emotionally intense events. Now you may be wondering how to remember the mundane and uninteresting information just as well as the emotionally intense information. Well, that depends on the emotional state you're in after the experience, which dictates whether you learn it quickly or not. This is important when thinking about tools related to improving memory, basically triggering an emotional high adrenaline state after we perform the learning of a particular thing. It comes down to manipulating the release of adrenaline, which helps remove the need for multiple repetition to learn a particular information. Let's dive into the tools that will help you do this. Now, one of the tools you can use to give an adrenaline spike is caffeine. Now, most people take caffeine before starting to learn something in order to retain the information much better as they become more alert. While that is partially true, it turns out that it's not optimal. So a question comes to mind, when it should be taken? Well, in the McGaw and Larry Cahill's experiment, they had a group of people take caffeine or something of a pill to increase adrenaline. They had them take it an hour, 30 minutes and 10 minutes before learning, as well as an hour, 30 minutes and 10 minutes after learning. So they tried to find the best time to evoke the adrenaline release, and the results showed that the best time window if the goal is to increase memory and learning is to take it immediately after, or just 5 or 10 minutes after learning. This can be a cognitive information or a physical skill. If you're a person who has always taken it before or beginning of your learning, then you can also take it late in your learning process. A paper published by Cell Journal showed that brief naps of about 20 to up to 90 minutes after learning can also enhance the rate of learning and memory. Cold water can be used as an adrenaline stimulus, like taking a cold shower after learning. But how cold should it be in order to invoke the adrenaline release? Well, it should be uncomfortably cold, but cold enough that you feel like you really want to get out, but can stay in safely. If it quickens your breath and makes you wide-eyed, that means that your adrenaline in your mind and body is released. The overall takeaway is that anything that increases adrenaline will increase memory and will reduce the number of repetition required to learn something, provided that the spike in adrenaline occurs late in the learning or after the learning. But remember to keep everything in moderation. Now we'll move on to what practices you can do to boost your memory for the long term. You might not see the effects immediately, and it might seem uncomfortable, but it will have a lasting positive effect on your memory. These are the ones with short-term pain but long-term gain. The first tool is exercise. Cardio exercise encourages the electrical activity and the formation and maintenance of the hippocampus, which is a lobe in the brain that has a major role in learning and memory, and it keeps it functioning well in order to lay down new memories. This is backed up by a researcher named Wendy Suzuki, who has been at the forefront of exploring the link between physical activity and memory enhancement. In her studies, she and her team had demonstrated cognitive benefits of regular aerobic exercise. Participants who were engaged in consistent physical activity showed improvement in various cognitive functions, including attention, processing speed, and memory recall. These findings suggest that exercise serves as a powerful cognitive enhancer with long-term implication for brain health. The next tool is meditation, which helps in significantly enhancing your memory and learning. This is also backed up by a study done by Wendy Suzuki, wherein the study recruited healthy adults aged 18 to 45 who were not regular meditators. They were split into two groups. One practiced daily meditation for 13 minutes, while the other listened to a podcast for the same duration over the course of 8 weeks. Mood, cognitive function, and stress level were measured before, during, and after the study. Results showed improvements in mood and cognitive function, along with reduced stress response in the meditation group compared to the podcast group. So, daily meditation for 13 minutes can enhance your ability to pay attention and to learn, and it can truly enhance memory. However, you need to do that for at least 8 weeks to start to see the effect. Check out this video if you want to learn how to focus for a longer period of time and help eliminate your lack of focus.